Good morning. It's just after 8:30. It is Sunday morning. It is every other Sunday morning. So it must be time for Sunday Morning Live with Ron. Hi there. I'm Ron. Hang on. I'm really having a tough time this morning. I seem to be completely separated from my phone. Oh well. So I'm sorry, Instagram. Welcome to anybody there. Welcome to all the people that are looking for me here on Facebook. Love to see you. Love to have you say hi. Instagram, I'm just not going to be able to see your comments today. I'm sorry. I apologize. My entire technology stack this morning failed on me and I had to rebuild everything from scratch. So I'm running a little bit behind. But now we're here, and it is Sunday Morning Live with Ron. First off, let's get this thing straight. I'm Ron, okay? You may be Ron, but you're not the Ron of Sunday Morning Live with Ron. I am the Ron that we're talking about. So, I have a website. I have a website called ronalcottphotography.com, which makes sense because my name is Ron Alcott, and I do photography. So it's ronalcottphotography.com. Welcome, all you people. Look at all this. We got lots of people on here this morning. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. What we do here on Sunday mornings is we will show you the new pictures that are going into my gallery this week. And then we will do a lesson to help you improve your photography. And then I will step outside where I have my Sony a6000 set up, and I will demonstrate that lesson on my camera. So that's sort of the general outline of what we do. The something that those of you that have followed me for a while need to know, I am changing the cadence of my posts. First year that I was doing this, I really was focused on kind of getting quantity up on my website. I've changed my focus now. I'm going to be focusing more on making sure I have absolutely my best quality shots going up. So you're going to see fewer shots than you've been seeing in the past. But that being said, let's jump right into the new images. Okay. This first one is called Peruvian peppercorn because that's the name of that plant. I took this while I was on a walk on New Year's Day with a special friend of mine. And these were just growing along a fence. And I took a picture. I thought it came out really, really nice. I liked the red berries against the green, and then the softness I was able to get in the background there. Again, Peruvian peppercorns. These are all going to be going up on the site in the new images gallery tomorrow morning. The next one is called A Flock of Pigeons. Now you see that's backwards here. I have to do something here for you so that you'll recognize it when you see it. We have to go there and we have to do this. There, that's the way it will look on my website. This is called A Flock of Pigeons. It was taken at the Santa Cruz Municipal Pier. I went down there around sunrise one day, early fall, sometime in September, and took a lot of pictures. And one of the pictures I took, there was this flock of pigeons that was coming to land on this railing here and probably to beg me for food. It didn't work. I don't ever give food to pigeons. But they came and they looked and they said hi. And I took their picture. So, flock of pigeons from Santa Cruz, California. The next one is from South Lake Tahoe. This is near a park, just as you get to the lake, driving into South Lake Tahoe, California, the village itself. This is called Spirit of Competition. And when it gets up on the site, it'll have the sculptor's name. I don't remember it off the top of my head right now, and I don't have notes because, as I said, this morning was a bit hectic. So, Spirit of Competition, it is a sculpture. It is bronze, and it sits in a park right at the boat ramp for South Lake Tahoe. So, that's that one. The next one, which is actually my last one this week, is called Steamer. This is another picture that I took at the Niles Canyon Railway the day that I went on a photographer's excursion fundraiser for the Niles Canyon Railway. Obviously, I was not on a train when I took this. The train was coming past me, and I managed to catch all of that beautiful, beautiful steam and the beautiful clear blue sky. So once again, he's called Steamer. It was taken in Sunol on Niles Canyon Railway. So to look at them again quick, as I said, I'm doing a lot fewer. I'm doing about half. So this is Peruvian peppercorn, a flock of pigeons, Spirit of Competition, and Steamer. Hi, Cheryl. Glad to see you're here. Wow, we're back up to 5, and only Cheryl has said hi. But that's okay. We love all of you, and we're glad that you're here on a Sunday morning instead of doing something else useful. Now, I know there's no football today, so that's possibly why some of you are bored already, but we're glad that you're all here. So those are the new pictures. The next thing we're going to do, hi, Samara. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a lesson, but first, see, I lied there, because first I'm going to do something else, and then after that, I'm going to do a lesson. So first, I want to tell you about what's coming up on the calendar. Number 1, tomorrow evening, 5:30 Pacific time, which is 8:30 Eastern. And, you know, those of you in the middle are used to figuring out from there. I will be doing the live drawing for our January giveaway, which, if you recall, was the Aspiration of Art. Okay. So that's a beautiful metallic print, 8x12, like a $91 value. If you are not entered, if you're not already on my email list, you can go to ronalcottphotography.com, and there you will learn, you'll see right at the top of the page, a link to enter the contest, enter the giveaway. It's not a contest, it's just a giveaway. So you'll see me draw live for that tomorrow at 5:30. And I will also, at that point, be announcing the image for the February giveaway. So February is tomorrow. Tomorrow's February already. We already wasted a month this year. Can you believe that? So that's what's coming up on the calendar. And then, of course, 2 weeks from today, which will be Valentine's Day, I get to be your Valentine. Aren't you lucky? Anyway, Valentine's Day, we'll be back again. That's a Sunday morning. We'll be back again in 2 weeks with Sunday Morning Live with Ron. And it tells you the sad state of my life that I'll be doing a live broadcast at 8:30 on Sunday morning on Valentine's Day. But that's the world we live in right now. So those are the big two things coming up on the calendar. We have coming up probably the second week of March, I'm going to be, fingers crossed, doing the Dublin, California St. Patrick's Day Festival, which I've been trying to do for a year. That was going to be my first live show last year, and then the pandemic hit. But as always, with the pandemic situation, things are always up in the air about live events. But that's looking to be my first live event, and I'll be fleshing out which ones I'm applying for this year, and we'll get that on the calendar. If you go to my website and look on the page called Bulletins, you'll see a calendar down towards the bottom of the page, and it will have all of these things on there. So if you get confused, that's where you look. Next thing we're going to do this wonderful day is we're going to do a lesson. And I've been racking my brain about what to do next in terms of what lesson. And we're going to go back to a topic that I have done in the past, but we're going to dive into it into some more depth. Mostly because this is one of the pieces that I am going to be working on myself this year. We're going to be taking our cues from this article on Petapixel.com. It's called 20 Composition Techniques That Will Improve Your Photos. So we're going to be talking about composition. I've talked in a couple shows now about the fact that I am participating in a set of competitions on GuruShots.com. I've entered some other competitions, one of which I should be hearing from on February 14th, my next show. But just to show you some of the types of competitions that they have, and if we go into it, and rather than vote, I want to scroll down and show you the types of pictures that I am up against, and the fact that I'm only number 236. Okay, but I wanted to show you some of the beautiful, beautiful pictures that are in here. And I have looked at now hundreds of pictures here. And one of the things that I have discovered about the pictures that I like more than my pictures, and the ones that rank really high up here in this particular competition, these are the top 10 I'm showing you, tie there for 9, okay, is they have much better compositions than I have. So this year, one of my focuses in my personal photography growth is going to composition. So I found this good art, Barry O'Carroll, and again, it's on Petapixel. Okay. So we will jump right into them. Number one, the number one thing that you see every time you talk about composition is the rule of thirds. Okay. And the rule of thirds is really very simple. If you divide your camera, divide your image space into thirds vertically, okay, and get centered here. Okay, so we get thirds vertically and then thirds horizontally. Okay, you end up with a grid. Okay, and you can shift things like I have shifted myself so that now I am on a third line. And I find myself doing this because it's a more interesting composition, even though I've got all that negative space up there. And then if you put something at an intersection of the lines, it's even more interesting. So that becomes a focus spot, and you can make focus areas by filling in one of the third lines. So it gives you 9 spaces to fill in. You can use the sides for framing, or the sides and the top for framing, and then use the middle 2 for your actual image, whatever you want to do. Many cameras have the ability to show this in the viewfinder. I'm not sure if this actually comes through. It doesn't come through on the display. It is on my camera, okay? You just can't see it on the live display. But that's the rule of thirds. It's very simple. It's the most basic building blocks. And of course, they give an example here. See if I can get all of that on the screen. They've got the rule of thirds. This is their whole image. It's divided into 9 pieces. By putting these nearer trees on this right third, okay, that provides a balance so that the other trees trailing off in the distance, okay, sort of balance these bigger trees in the front, okay, because they're taking up 2/3 of the space. Notice how that line travels down through this middle third. This line travels up through the bottom third. Okay, and then nicely they've got converging lines of clouds. Okay, so there's lots of things going on here. But the point is that by getting these on the thirds line, they have made it more interesting. So on to the second technique. Rule of thirds is pretty basic. Here's another example. Okay, here he's using zones more than lines. Okay, so he's got the sky in the upper third. Okay, he's got buildings over here in these 2 blocks, buildings across the middle. Okay, and then the square takes up this bottom corner. Okay, so he's got, 3 zones. The horizon is right at that third line. That's a common way to use the rule of thirds. Put your horizon on one of the thirds lines. Okay. The start of the square is on the other thirds line. Okay. And this is Old Town Square in Prague. It's a beautiful picture. I know where he was. I didn't do it. Okay. He climbed up in the top of the astronomical clock that is there, which you can do. It was either very, very busy or I simply had to be somewhere else. I did not do that. Next time I do, I will be going up to the top of the clock to get some pictures. Of course, those of you who know me know that up is not a good thing for me, but I'll do it. Okay. So the next technique, so that's technique number 1. Technique number 2 is centering and symmetry. Okay, symmetry is not the same as balance. You can have balance without symmetry. But here, let me see. You've got to. So this is an example. This is one he took at his home in Dublin of a bridge. Okay, and this is the walkway leading up to the bridge, and he's drawn a nice line down through the center of it. So the other way that you can compose things is, rather than putting things on thirds, you can center things exactly if they are symmetrical, if the left half balances the right half. And here he has exact symmetry. Okay. You can also achieve balance. Okay. If the symmetry was diagonal, and I think he may show that. Okay. But that's another technique that you can use to make a powerful photo, is make sure that you're lined up down the center. That's where I always fall down, is you have to be exactly in the center, shooting straight down that center line. Okay. Now here he's used a combination of rule of thirds and symmetry. Okay. If you divide it down the center, you get exact symmetry because of the reflection. Okay. So we put that shoreline right at the middle of the picture. But he also made this tree the main subject by placing it about a third of the way in from the right. Okay. But it's symmetric, so it takes up that whole line. Right? So that's, you start to stack these techniques, and that's what I'm trying to learn how to see when I'm out in the field, is how to stack techniques. Okay. And we're only going to do 3 of them today. Okay. So the third one is to provide foreground interest, which also gives you depth. Okay. The problem that we face is that photos by nature are 2-dimensional. Okay. But the way that we see as humans is 3-dimensional. So we have to find ways to give that 3-dimensional effect in our photos. And here, he's taken a picture of a waterfall. He could have cropped it very tight and just had the waterfall. Okay. But to give you an idea of perspective and space, he's added this foreground. And he does a very nice job, I think, with his examples in this article. Okay, so he's masked out the main subject, and you see that he's highlighted which parts of that picture are foreground that add interest. Strangely enough, that foreground takes up what? Oh, wow, about a third. Okay. Very common landscape technique is foreground, subject, sky in your 3/3 stacked. Okay, that's classic landscape photography. So that's one. Okay, here's one where it's not so much using the rule of thirds. Okay, but rather than just shoot these lights back here, to give us some perspective, he got low and got down to this cleat that's on the dock where he is. Okay. And that gives us something in the foreground that adds more interest and perspective to the background. All right. You can use a framing foreground. Okay. Here, now, framing is the next topic. We'll get to framing in 2 weeks. All right. I was going to say, framing doesn't sound like foreground. Okay. So again, the 3 techniques that we're talking about today are, number 1, the rule of thirds. Good old rule of thirds. Me on this third, finger on that third. How interesting is that? The second is symmetry. And the third is foregrounds. Okay, so what does that all mean to us? In a second, I'm going to go brave the outdoors where it is a mere 48 degrees right now and actually demonstrate some of these techniques for you in my backyard. Possibly the most famous backyard on the internet at this point, since this is the 26th version of this show that I've done. Thank you, Cheryl. I'm glad you're enjoying it. So in a second, I'm going to do that. But I want to remind you in 2 weeks, on February 14th, I will be back here for another one of these. Tomorrow at 5:30, I will be drawing the winner for the January giveaway live. And then on probably March 12th will be my first actual art fair. So if you're in the Northern California area celebrating St. Patrick's Day, I believe it's March 12th, whatever that Saturday is before St. Patrick's Day. If it happens, I will be there. And that will be fun to actually meet people. Looking forward to it. Our lesson we're starting on is 20 composition techniques. Today we're talking about the first 3, which we're going to demonstrate when we get back outside. So, any questions? Because as soon as I step away from this computer, I'm not going to be able to see your comments at all anymore. And again, I apologize if anybody showed up on Instagram. I appreciate you being here. All you that are coming in to watch this on the replay, I appreciate you being here. All you who got up on a Sunday morning to watch me live and babble to myself here in my room, I appreciate you being here. I'm a really appreciative kind of guy. That's just who I am. So, without further ado, let's go take some pictures. All right. I had a really interesting day yesterday. I may show you some of these pictures when I get out to my camera. Yesterday, I took 2 different classes from 2 different photography clubs in the area. One from the Concord Photography Club. Now, of course, the instructor didn't show up, but it was a new place for me, so I took lots of pictures at this new place. And then the other one was from the San Francisco Photography Club. So the morning one in Concord, I was taking pictures around a little pond. I would call it a pond. They called it Ellis Lake. I think they're being rather aspirational with that. But there were geese and there were egrets and interesting trees, all kinds of things. So that was fun. And then I rested up and went in the evening to a class on photographing lights at night that was put on by the San Francisco Photography Club. And that one, the instructor did show up, and we went to a light installation, and there are a number of light installations around San Francisco. Some of them are permanent. Some of them were just up for the winter. They're thinking about extending them. So I got a lot of pictures at the installation called Illuminati, which is in Golden Gate Park, one of my favorite places to be. So here I am outside. There's the camera right there. We're going to grab it. We're going to talk about rule of thirds, symmetry, and foregrounds. Okay, let's look at rule of thirds. Now, we've already determined that you can't see these rule of thirds grid lines on my camera. And my problem is that I also can't see my camera while I have it plugged into the computer. And since I'm outside, I can't see it through the viewfinder. No, I can't see it at all. That's a real shame. And sometimes it does it, and sometimes it doesn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect you from the camera for a second so that I can set up something that demonstrates the rule of thirds for you and then come back on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swivel this around. Okay. All right. All right. So the image that we have now, not really a very interesting image, but it does demonstrate nicely the rule of thirds. You see, I've got the two trees lined up on the left and right third. And then I have that fence line lined up on the horizontal bottom third. Okay. So that's going to give us a somewhat interesting picture. So let's take the picture and then we'll take a look at it. Okay. And you can see all the settings there. And so that's an example of a rule of thirds. Okay. Let's do something else with rule of thirds. Where can I shoot? I have to be careful with all my cords here and everything else. We're going to shoot this way for a sec. Okay. Try not to get too much lens flare into my camera. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up. We're going to have the fence again on the third line. And then that tree in the neighbor's backyard is going to be on the other third line. And that'll give us the sky going up this way. So let me line that up. Again, I'll take you offline for a second so I can see what I'm shooting. All right. So we're going to do this in here. Okay. So I apologize. I was describing things you couldn't see. So now we have lined it up. We've got the fence on making up the bottom third. We've got the tree lined up on the right-hand third. Okay. Which gives us that interest in the upper. All right, so let's take that picture. Okay, and then we'll look at it. So that's what it looks like. Okay, so you have thirds, and remember that it goes horizontally and vertically. And the more of them that you can combine, the more interesting it becomes. Let me take my favorite subject here. Okay, we're going to set up. Those of you who have seen my outdoor presentations before will remember Mr. Rabbit. Okay. So we're going to set up Mr. Rabbit here. He'll be good practice too, because some of what I'm trying to do this year is I'm going to be learning portraiture. I've been doing landscapes, mostly because they don't involve people, but I'm going to learn to do portraits. So we're going to move around a little bit so we have better lighting. Make sure I didn't knock you offline. There, good. All right. Now, again, let me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4 shots with Mr. Rabbit at each of the 3rd grid lines. Now, remember, when you're shooting animals, including people, you want to have the eye be the point of focus that you're working on. So we'll get over here where we can see his eye. I'm going to set these up. I'm going to take 4 photos. At the 4 different juncture lines. All right. Okay. And I've got all right. So there's 1. 2. 3. And 4. Okay. So you can see the different types of interest that are developed just by placing that same object at 4 different spots in the thirds lines. Okay. All right. So the second thing, that's the rule of thirds. Second thing we're going to talk about is symmetry. All right. And I see a nice spot to get symmetry. So we're going to switch over to here. If I can get to it without disintegrating my whole setup. And again, the secret here is you've got to be lined up in the center, shooting straight down the line. Now I got to take you offline for a sec, see what that looks like. There he is. Get him centered, shooting straight down the line. Okay. All right, so now you can see it. I've got this little walkway that leads to nowhere. When I moved in, there was a big brown circle out there. So I think it actually led to the pool, but I don't have a pool. They took their pool with them. But this is an example of getting something very centered, and then you got green to the left, green to the right. It's a very balanced shot using symmetry. Take it, take a look at it. Now that's a pretty interesting shot. Okay. Let's find another spot where we can find some symmetry. Okay. Man-made things are very, very good for symmetry. Nature symmetry is much harder. You can get a little bit of it if you line up with this tree. Okay. This is an unknown citrus tree here in my backyard. That's not good. So I went offline. See if we can get you back. There. You should be back now. All right. So This is a citrus of unknown origin. Again, let me line up the shot and get him centered. Centered right there and come back. Sorry, it's taking me a second to get this lined up the way I want it. I get fussy. You know, I forget I'm teaching and I start trying to take pictures. So anyway, as you can see, I've got the tree centered. And because it's a pretty balanced tree, okay, this works for symmetry. I take that picture, take a look at it, very symmetrical. Okay. But as I said, man-made things are easy for symmetry. Okay. So we're going to go over here. I'm not quite lined up straight with this guy yet. Where's that shooting? There. Okay. Now, I've got some symmetry up here I'm going to shoot. So just a second. Let me adjust and show you. Right there. Okay. Now, you'll see we've got some blown out sky around that. All right. We could zoom in further. Let me try that. Oop. Zoom in further. There. Okay. Now you should see it nice and clear. We're lined up in the center. All right. We'll take that picture. Show it to you. Show it to me. Okay. That's pretty good. What happens if you get a little bit off center, which is me often? Okay. Symmetry gets ruined by perspective. Okay. The object is still symmetrical. The picture is not. All right. So that is symmetry. I don't really have anything much here with vertical symmetry, or with, up and down symmetry. So I can't really show you that. But then the last one is foregrounds. So that's not a foreground. That's all background. Okay. So we're going to go into our lopsided tree. And first, let me show you the shot without any foreground. Again, I have to take it offline. Okay. So there you are. So there he is. He's all zoomed in. It's tree. It's all tree. You don't know whether it's a big tree or a little tree or much of anything about it except it's got leaves. Okay, so we'll take that picture. Take that picture. All right. And then let me reset. And we'll add some foreground to tell you a little bit more about that tree. Okay. Now I have moved the tree onto the thirds line, and I've zoomed back out so that we have about a third of our picture is taken up with foreground. Now you know sort of how far away from the tree we are. All right, we'll take that picture. So if you compare this picture with that picture, okay, the foreground provides you much more interest. Okay. Let's see what we can do to demonstrate that with Mr. Bunny over here. All right. I always laugh when I say Mr. Bunny, because Mr. Bunny was the name of my band teacher when I was in high school. So I used to know a Mr. Bunny. All right. Oh, no, I disconnected you again. Hang on. This really sucks on my knees because my knees are very sore from walking around yesterday. I don't walk around much. I should do more, but when I do, I get very sore. So now we're going to shoot down here at Mr. Bunny. Okay. And we're going to physically Mr. Bunny around just to provide some variations. Okay. So we're going to move him all the way to the front so that there is no foreground. We're going to zoom right in on him and we're going to get Mr. Bunny. All right. Let me set up the shot. All right. Okay, here you go. Here's Mr. Bunny set up with no foreground. All right, we'll take that picture. Now we're going to move him a little bit and move my camera position a little bit so that he does have some foreground. All right, we're going to set him there, and then we're going to move the actual, let's not knock the camera over, we're going to move the actual table back, okay, so that we have some perspective on him. There we go. Let's see what we can do with that shot to provide some foreground. All right. Again, let me take you offline so I can see what I'm doing. There he is. Okay. And if I didn't have you waiting on me, I would probably drop my tripod a little bit so that that foreground gets elongated a little bit. But there he is with a little bit of foreground. And if you look at the two pictures, this one is much more interesting than that one. Okay, so those are our pictures for today. Hopefully somebody's still with me. I'm not just talking to myself in the backyard, but I'll know that in a minute. So I'll be checking up on you. Here, I'm coming back inside. I didn't show you any of my pictures from my shoots. I apologize about that, but it's cold out there, and it's just about time to stop anyway. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to my talk. I'm going to start developing my own materials about some of these techniques. So hopefully next time I can teach using my own materials and not rely so much on their materials. There's Stephen. The morning light is pretty nice. We're a little bit past golden hour here. The sun came up, I think, at 7:18. Okay, so by the time we stopped, we were past golden hour. But it's still pretty nice light. It's still pretty directional out there until about 10 at this time of year. I can get some good directional shots. Thank you for coming. Again, we'll do this all over again in 2 weeks. We will do the drawing live tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. I look forward to seeing you all. Keep an eye out. I do occasionally go live and do flash sales online. All of my stuff. Well, your cold is probably colder than my cold, Cheryl. I consider the 46 degrees that it was out there. But yeah, I lived in Cleveland for 3 years, and I understand cold and snow. And that's one of the reasons why I live in California. When I first moved away from the cold and snow, I used to be very insistent that I had to have winter every year. I had to go out in it, and I had to touch snow, and I had to make snowballs, and I had to. Nowadays, if I'm driving somewhere and I see snow up on top of a mountain somewhere, it's like, okay, good, winter, done it. One of my best buddies lives in Canton. Russell lives in Canton. So anyway, lost my thought there thinking about Russell. Good guy. So that's our show today. And I hope you liked it. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll continue on with composition techniques. We've got 17 to go. And we will continue on from there. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching the replay. Thanks for putting up with me. Do go to the website and take a look at all of the good things there. Okay. At ronalcottphotography.com. Okay. And you be good to yourself. Be kind to other people. And become the person that you would like to meet. Peace out.